too. So is Reform now the leading party of the right in the UK? Richard Fuller is the Conservative Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, and he joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's pretty stark, that poll, isn't it? What do you make of it?
Well, these opinion polls come and go, and it's a nice narrative, but every week we have local council by-elections. We've had those since the election, and week after week, when people have gone to cast their votes, they've been voting Conservative. The Conservatives have been gaining seats off Labour, votes off the Liberal Democrats, and those really are the real polls that matter.
Is it a nice narrative? I mean, 1 in 4, 24% of those who voted Tory at the last election would vote for Reform. 43% of your supporters would be in favour of the two parties merging. I mean, that doesn't seem like a good place to be.
Well, the public are smart. I think they recognise that if there's a division of people with, say, small c conservative values, then we're going to end up with even more period of Labour government, and people are frustrated right from the start about how poorly Labour has engaged in the role of government, and they're very frustrated about it. But ultimately, in the end, the logic, the fact that if the Conservative vote is split, we end up with a Labour government is a true one, yes.
Well, it is entirely true. So is it time to think seriously about merging with Reform?
No, it's far too early to talk about anything like that. I mean, look what Kemi has. She's become leader after a long period of Conservative government, and one of the worst results that the Conservative Party, if not the worst result the Conservative Party has ever had. And people's memories are still strong by that. And her job and what she's doing is saying that we have to own up to some of the errors that we made while in government, learn from those mistakes, and then prepare a programme for government that's based on policies that can cater our country in the right direction, and that will take time. And she's got off to a good start. I think that we have the people in place to try and get those policies right, and most importantly of all, to demonstrate that we're holding Labour to account, which the Conservatives with our MPs in Parliament can do, and Reform cannot.
It's far too early to say. Those are your words. I'm interested that you say that Kemi Badenoch's made a good start, because actually she slipped behind Nigel Farage now when it comes to her favourability rating. She was ahead of him at the end of last month. Now she's slipped back behind. How long are you going to give your leader to turn things around?
Well, let me just maybe I can explain why I said that, because I think it has been surprising how poorly Labour have been since they came into office. People feel they haven't got control of the economy. Rachel Reeves seems like she's out of her depth, and so people are very frustrated as they see the economy doing poorly. And when they have that frustration, they're not yet ready to say, oh, well, the Conservatives, that's right. They're going to express their frustration by saying, I'll go out to the one who's never done anything. But ultimately, what people, when they come to vote in a general election, will be doing is they will want a balanced package of policies they know can be a policy for government. And that's the work that I think Kemi has started on, and that does take time.
So how long are you going to give her to turn things around?
We have until the next election. So the next election is when real votes will get cast. That's when real people make their decision. That's when people will say, we cannot afford anymore a Labour government. We know we need to make a change. We've now been given the chance to change. That change can't come soon enough, but it's probably 4 or 5 years away. And at that point, people say, I'm going to give the Conservatives a chance. Kemi's job is to get the Conservatives back in a position where people say, we trust you being in government again, and then people will vote Conservative.
Well, who are you the party for now, though? Because I think that's what we're starting to see in these polls. You're seeing people splitting off between you and Reform. We're seeing Farage now, Nigel Farage has the support of almost half of those who voted to leave the EU. He seems to be solidifying himself as the choice for those who backed Brexit. You slipped back 30% among Leave voters. You don't really seem to stand for them, but you don't really seem to stand, by and large, for young people. I think many people are looking at the Tory party and wondering, well, who are you for?
Well, I do meetings, every week in my constituency and talk to people, and people there, they're all backgrounds, whether they're in the rural areas, towns or villages, and they do have Conservative values. They have consistently voted Conservative. In the last election, they said, it wasn't your policies, it was the people. It looked like you were divided. It looked like you weren't
Well, you're still very divided, aren't you? Because you've just articulated there is a deep divide between you and Reform. You said that yourself.
Oh no, that's slightly different. I was saying that people said the Conservative Party and government was divided. So within our own party, we were divided. And people don't want that. People don't like division. And that fundamentally comes to a decision in a few years will have to be made, which is, Do we want to have the Labour Party out? Do we want a programme for government that is, adds up, stacks up, isn't just based on frustration, is based on sound principles of governance? And when people look at that, have to make that choice, they'll say the Conservative Party is the right party to lead us to make those changes.
So in a few years' time, people are either going to have to decide whether the right unites under one banner, be it yours or Reform's, or you will lose the next election to a left-wing party.
Well, I think that's the maths, isn't it?
And I go back to my question, are you going to ask Reform to join the Conservative Party, or are you going to join Reform?
So I don't think at that point, we're at that point, and the Conservative Party, I think, ultimately will restore its position. People will look at the policies we have. They'll see that we have learnt the lessons. They'll see that we are a united party, and they'll say that's the package of policies we'll vote for.
Well, we will see. Richard Fuller, Conservative Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, thank you for joining us on the programme.
Thank you.